Alright, what's up, guys? This is Protobro. This is probably game 3, officially, between Josh and I. I lost the first one as the Union, which is incredibly embarrassing. To be fair, this is my excuse, though. I hadn't really played the Union a lot, so now that I understand the game a lot more, and I know how to play the Union, I suspect this game will be significantly different. Game 2, I lost literally on the last turn, like literally in the last turn, when he was able to take Richmond, the last turn of December of 1865, and now we're in Game 3 where I am playing as a Union, he's playing as a Confederacy. So this episode here is obviously turn 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the grand strategy of kind of how I plan to conduct the overall campaign, and then go through obviously what I did this turn, and we're going to go back and forth. Now it's going to be a little bit different on this Let's Play because Josh is recording as well. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be splicing things up. So you're going to have me now on the first half of the turn describing, what I'm describing, and then we're going to flip it over to him, and he's going to be describing his side of the first turn, and then so on and so forth. We're going to do two turns at a time. So what that means is that I did this one turn, I'm sending it to him, he's doing his, he's going to then run turn 1, so you'll actually see it run. And then he'll do his turn again for turn 2, and then he'll send it to me. I'll do my turn 2, run the turn, so you'll get to see it on my end, and then I'll do my turn 3, and then send it to him, and so on and so forth. So that way you'll be able to get both sides of the entire campaign. You'll be able to get a description of kind of what he's doing, what he's thinking, and what he's seeing. Whereas, in the last campaign that I recorded, there was obviously a fair amount of fog of war with regards to what the Union was doing behind the lines because I couldn't see it, right? So, alright, so grand strategy, let me just go over that just really quick here. So 1861, the goal is just to hold DC and to hold St. Louis. If I can do that, then I'm in really good shape. Now, you say, well, that sounds pretty easy. Well, not necessarily, right? So if he decided with the Confederacy to take all of his forces, like all of them, and shift them east and make a move on DC once you can create corps, or rather, create divisions, he might actually have a shot, because at that point he's got probably better troops and better generals than I do. So I'll have to have good intel on what he's doing with his forces, because if he does shift like that, then I'll have to shift as well. Also, there is an opportunity to take St. Louis if the situation is right. So if I get too forward advancing and leave St. Louis exposed, he can move in and get it. So number one goal is hold DC, hold St. Louis, and then targets of opportunity. So if I can take Harper's Ferry, if I can take Manassas before October, if I can move into Missouri, move down into Kentucky, those sort of options, if those situations present itself, then I will try and take advantage of that. But as far as number one priorities being what they are, it's going to be hold DC and hold St. Louis. I also am thinking about trying to maybe set up shop down here in the Keys, and then send Rangers up in his underbelly here and just kind of harass him, like tear up these rail lines, destroy supply depots, all that. Just be freaking annoying, and that will either force him to pull some cavalry back and chase me around, or just ignore it. And then if he ignores it, then it's just free pop shots, right? So that's an option as well. Alright, 1862 is when we're going to go on the offensive. I want to push down and try and take Nashville, Memphis, New Orleans. But the key there is New Orleans. So if I can put pressure on his front towards Memphis and or Nashville, then while he's dealing with that, sail in on his rear and take New Orleans. The Confederacy, it's very hard, long game to survive as a Confederacy if you lose New Orleans, let alone if you lose New Orleans and Charleston. So my goal will also be to, as early as possible, take Charleston. Now, that's easier said than done, because Charleston is easily accessible by the Confederacy, as well as it's also difficult to take because it's defended by 2 forts. And so, that could be a challenge, but that's my goal in 1862. 1863 and on, we're going to be full-on offensive. I want to have complete control of the rivers. I want to be putting pressure on Richmond, which will hopefully force him to keep cores up there while I put pressure on the south. And what I want to try and do is replicate as best as possible the actual Anaconda plan, which was take New Orleans, take Mississippi, blockade the Confederacy, choke them off economically, and then eventually take Richmond and Atlanta, obviously. I want to do that because I think it's more entertaining to play that way rather than just trying to do like, a all or nothing type campaign. I don't find that fun. It's too gamey. It definitely doesn't replicate historical events in any way. Now, all of that being said, right, we need to win victories. Why do we need to win victories? Because it's the only way to keep our national morale up. Our morale will start going down if we're not engaging in battles, and then if we happen to lose a few battles, then we're in real tough situation. Because our national morale is just always a little bit lower than significantly lower actually than the Confederacy. All right. 1861 here as far as builds are concerned. I think I'm going to build some ironworks, possibly. I haven't quite decided on the infrastructure yet. If I do ironworks, I'm only going to do one set of them. And really the objective from that is to get my war supply up to over 500 every turn. That way that 500 is converted to some cash. I think it's like 50 cash, I believe. Maybe 100 cash, but I think it's at least 50. So that's one objective, perhaps, with ironworks, doing that in 1861. Otherwise, I'll probably make either powder mills or arsenals, but I will definitely do some infrastructure. I'm going to build up my supply, pull up my... Oh, I can't even see it yet. Well, shoot. Basically, so transports, and send all of my transports to the supply box. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was so far. There, to the shipping lanes here. So when you send those transports to the shipping lanes and attach them to the shipping, that increases the amount of dollars that you pull in per turn. So that's one thing we're definitely going to be focusing on in 1861. See if there's anything else I need to cover here before we just jump into the turn. I don't think so. So let's just get started here. All right. So first off, let's go over decisions here. As far as investments, we put 3 into line infantry, 1 into cavalry, and then I think we put some artillery. Yep, 1 into artillery. And really, I'm just doing that because I want to start getting these up. Because like right here, we need 8 for heavy. We're already only at 2. And then these are going to start going up pretty quick, the numbers, so I want to get those up. And then we are going to issue war bonds, so it's going to cost us some victory points, which we are counting victory points for this game. So you can either win the game through national morale or victory points. My intent is to win by taking both capitals, but I'm still going to mess around with the victory points, if anything, just to kind of force him to try and be competitive with the victory points. So not spending cards that'll cost victory points, trying to take or hold areas that produce victory points, that sort of thing. I'm not going to print money at the moment because I'm going to try and really keep inflation down. So obviously I think it's 0 right now. I think you start off with 0. Go away. No history. Yeah, I get that. Alright, so anyways, I think we start at 0. So definitely don't want to jack up the inflation right away. And we definitely don't want to lose national morale. National morale, again, affects the way your troops perform in battle, how likely they are to flee, but then even more so than that, as your national morale goes down further, you run the risk of losing the game completely, like we did the first time I played this. So, but it does reduce the inflation by 1, so there's that, at least. Okay. We are going to declare the blockade. And okay, now as far as cards that were played, let me go over this here. So I put down a card up here in Suffolk. I think that's where I put it. Yeah, so I want to make this 80 to make this a rich county. So I put the trying to show you what the card does. It's really annoying. Anyways, let's see if I can see it down here. Let's also put one on, I think it's New York. Well, there we go. +5 development points, and we get 5 victory points. And this will make this place a rich county as well. Okay. I did not put down martial law here like you could, in part because not only does it cost you national morale, you do get the plus 20% loyalty, but losing the national morale is a big deal. So there's other ways to deal with that. Same thing with, and I could do habeas, right? It's going to cost me 3 victory points, but you will get 20% loyalty, and so I may end up doing that potentially. I'm just kind of holding off doing that for now. Yeah, I'm just going to see how that works and then go from there. Oops. Alright, and then put down some of these development territories, primarily for the loyalty bonus and then the development points and the victory points. Now, I did for loyalty sort of just because, I mean, 85 is pretty good, right? But it's more for this rail line to make this rail line even better and faster. Okay. So same thing with here. Just put that rail line there, makes it faster. And it's also not a place where I'm going to park any cavalry to try and build up the loyalty. So might as well use it there. It's tough to use those cards on like important places because you can't use them like in cities and stuff. I think you can only use them like maybe level 1 cities if you're lucky, but otherwise, yeah, you can't use them on cities, so can't really be as strategic with them as you may want to, although we put them on the rail line, so. Okay, and then we used it right here. So again, for the rail line, loyalty is only 60%. That'll boost loyalty. We did put down here 5 development points for this, and that's mainly just to boost this up to a level 25 city, which I think brings it up from like poor to, you know, not so poor. But I think there's a bonus to having it at 25, so that's why I put it there. Alright, now with that, there's nothing else really to do because I can't move anybody. So let me go ahead and turn it over to Josh and see what he's going to do and what he has to say, and then I will be back for turn 2 after he does his 2 turns. This is turn 2 of our new Let's Play. I haven't done anything as far as my moves yet, which is a bit unorthodox with regards to you know, how I normally do this, but it's going to be a quick turn, and I already know what I'm going to do, so I'll just do it real time while I have y'all on board here recording. So let's go through the events here really quick. Fort Sumter, he moved on that, and he was able to take it. That doesn't actually always happen. Sometimes it takes 2 turns to take it, so it's not always a shoo-in, but I'd say probably like 90-ish% of the time the Confederates are able to win this on the first turn. Alright, fortification to start for both capitals. Player note, don't build anything in terms of defensive structures in Washington, Richmond, and Alexandria before July, as this is already underway, and will appear soon for free. Alright, no cores before 62, right? So you can do divisions in 61, and then cores are going to be in March of 62. Fort Sumter was bombarded. Lincoln made a call for 75,000 volunteers. Okay, so what's not mentioned in this was actually, I believe it was the Confederacy who first put out a call for troops, and then Lincoln responded with his call for troops. That's usually missed in the history books, and it makes it seem like Lincoln was the impetus for war. Certainly him calling up troops didn't help the situation at all, and it definitely galvanized Virginia into joining the Confederacy but you know, Confederates had already fired on a federal installation, made their intent very clear and known, and then had also put out their call for volunteers. So I think at that point, right, no matter what Lincoln did, there was going to be war. So Alright, so we did the blockade. So I got these guys here. I always put these guys in green to start. These are all full, which is nice. I won't have to deal with those guys, send them back to port to get them filled up. But I think the other... There's a couple other blockade fleets that I'll have to build up once they're activated. While I'm doing this... Alright, so I got this guy. He'll be active. These guys will be green. I don't think they're passive them. Got those fleets taken care of. Okay, and then while we're at it, by the way, one way, if you're not sure on how to find which units are locked versus unlocked, particularly early game, when most of your units are locked, is if you hit F7, it'll pull the screen up here, and right now that'll show like basically all of the existing forces in your particular country. And if you hit this little locked icon, boom, it just shows you the only units that are actually active for this turn. So I have the fleet down here in the Chesapeake, which I'm going to move, and then I have a bunch of generals that just came up, and that's it. Can't move anybody else, at least this turn. So I just hit this lock thing. That's how I did it. Actually, I'll probably keep that open. Makes it easy. And then you just click and it'll take you there. So I'm going to move these guys out because I think he can either take this turn or next turn. I obviously don't want to lose my ships. So I'm going to put them here to try and do a little partial blockade on Richmond. This guy, even though he's locked, they did tear up the rail line, and what I can do is I can do repair rail line. So I'm going to do that. Also, you notice here, this is a size 12 city. Size 12 cities, so that's huge, right? Size 10 harbor, size 4 depot. So Baltimore is a major player for the Union. And so this is one of those areas where I am going to be I would be willing to play a habeas corpus card, even though it's going to cost me some victory points. But that loyalty is really important because productivity is in part tied to the loyalty of the area. The more loyal the region is to your cause, the more production you will get out of them. I forget what the numbers are. I don't know if it's like 50, 75, 100 or whatever, but all I know is the higher it is, the better. So for your really important areas, you want to get that loyalty up as best you can. I don't think I plan on playing any of the cards. Oh, actually, you know what? Since we got the cards open here, there's one other place. Clearing. So clearing gets you 5 development points. So I'm going to play it here because this is a size. This is only a level, or it's a civilization level 20. So this extra 5 will make it a 25. And I can play it on both of these. But for now, I'm just going to play it on one, because I only have one here. But it's it's a West Virginia, fairly important city, at least in West Virginia, right? And then unfortunately, I can't really play the road or the open trail cards at places that make sense at the moment, so I won't be using those this turn. And I don't plan on yet using requisition, because we get money for it, but money isn't really our problem. At least initially in the game, it's going to be manpower. Having enough recruits for the money that we can turn out. I don't intend yet to use the draft, just because that's pretty hefty payment, 20 loyalty and 15 victory points just to get 45 conscripts. And the same thing for martial law. Even though we can get plus 20 loyalty, it's going to cost us national morale, and as I mentioned in the last turn, we don't want to do, if at all possible, anything that's going to cost us national morale. Alright, let's get off that. Whoa. Wrong button. Okay, let's look at the rest of these events. Pratt Street Riot. Serious incident took place in Baltimore. Right. And then finally, Virginia secedes after Lincoln called up the 75,000 volunteers. Alright, now let's go to build screen. Let's go here first. So this is all we can build this turn. And we are going to build some of it. We're not going to build any more blockade flotillas for the game. I believe we get enough from the pre-populated ones to fulfill the blue water blockade percentage that we want to achieve. So for now, we're just going to focus on whatever land forces we can build. I'm going to just put these guys here because it's a little bit closer on the rail line. Put him here because he's forward. I sorted these guys out already, so I always try and keep it a little historically accurate about who goes to the west. I just think Milroy should go to the west because he looks like a western guy. So I would send him. And then some of these guys I would have to like look up to find out, to remind myself of who was. Put him in with Western Washington Reserve. Where is homeboy? Here's Wallace. I think probably one more. What's another guy that looks like he belongs in the west? Oh, Keyes was in the west. Put him over there. I think it's enough generals for the west at the moment. We'll take Hamilton. McCall kind of looks like a Potomac guy. I don't know what these guys look like, weirdos. And then these guys may be used as an advance onto Harper's Ferry. We'll see. And actually, I probably want one more guy. Since you can only attach a unit, you can't even attach a division until October. We're going to take Milroy, we're going to send him to St. Louis. Okay, he's on his way to St. Louis. Repairing the bridge there. Can't move any more troops, but what we can do is build artillery here, put our Illinois volunteer at a critical point here at Cairo, obviously. And I might be pronouncing that wrong, I forget. I know it's like a weird pronunciation. It might not even be Cairo. But right there, and then build screen, alright. So can't do any more elite yet. I'm gonna do a bunch of line infantry, a couple light, just to start getting that going. More militia, just because we are going to be building militia and then training them up with our different generals. We're going to have 3 general officers who can train militia up to line infantry. So we're going to be using a lot of militia this game. Something I did not do my first Union game because I didn't know you could do it. Which I know it's a real dumb thing not to know. But, you know, whatever. Right. I mean, we will need a lot of line infantry, so I don't think we can do any more cavalry. Okay. And I think that's that. So let's run the turn and see how it goes. So yeah, he already moved on Newport down here, or Norfolk rather. It's a good thing we pulled out that first turn there. Otherwise, we may have lost those ships. Sometimes that happens if they're in dock. Yep, he got the artillery and he's got guys inside. All right, so he's got that down there. Just got that dude. Banks popped up. Some Marines. Okay, let me go ahead and go through the turn here, make my moves. I'll come back on here, show you what I did, and then I'll kick it over to Josh for him to take over for his round 2 presentation, and then he'll run the turn and then go into his round 3. We did lose 1 national morale, which is annoying. But, alright, thanks. Be right back. Okay, we're back. Early May 61. I'm going to try and make a move late May 61 on Harper's Ferry. He should only have this 1 militia unit there. I'm not going to really be able to muster a whole lot, obviously, but we might have enough to be able to prevail here. So what I'm going to have is this elite brigade, which is the Washington Brigade. You know, it's only 2 companies, but it's an elite, so that should help. And it's an 89 power brigade, 1,200 troops. So that's them. I'll have Marines, which will help me with the river crossing. I did a couple things. I tried to like go through Loudon, so Leesburg, like hit this, and then maybe next turn try and get there, but I have to go over here, across the river to Winchester, and then up. And I still think it would, because I don't have military control of the railroads here, not be, it would be problematic, right? So I think I just have to just concentrate here and then cross the river and hope I can take him out with the river crossing. But having the Marines will help that. And then I'm bringing my cavalry down to assist. I had originally thought about putting him down in this area and just cutting up the rail lines over here to try and make it more difficult for him to move troops up. But if I can't take this in one shot, then I'm probably going to be hosed anyways, because I don't really have much to throw at it. So we'll see how it goes. I still don't thinking like put him here. Cross over into a forest with mud and then go north. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen, right? I need to make sure I can hit him next turn. I think if I wait one more turn, I may not be able to attack Harper's Ferry. So. I won't have any artillery though, and that's also problematic. But we'll see. Alright, we did get Banks. So Banks is a terrible army commander, right? He's only got 2 strategic, 0 offense, 1 defense. But the one thing he does have is he has recruiting officer. So this means he can muster new conscripts on a regular basis in cities of levels of 5+. And the forces under his command must be in the city to do so. So basically he just has to be in the city. We are hurting on conscripts right now. So for example here, we are down to 14. If I were to go and try and build just a small little brigade here for 2 conscript companies, or battalions, or whatever you want to call it. It takes 20 conscripts just to do that. So we're hurting on conscripts, so I think his value is going to be more added, helping us with recruiting conscripts every turn. So I'm going to stick him in Pennsylvania. Reason being is that not only is it a size 20 city, but the loyalty is 85%. So the higher the loyalty, you need to have like a certain loyalty level to be able to recruit the maximum number of conscripts that this guy can do. I believe 85 is plenty to be able to accomplish that. I'm doing habeas again here at Baltimore because the loyalty is still low. It looks like the last one didn't fire. So loyalty is still at 40. You need higher than 50% loyalty for 2 reasons. One, higher than 50% increases the production of the region, and then after that I think you need like 100 to get the next level up, which is almost impossible to get in the high production areas. So because they're big cities, so usually there's some loyalty difference there, but you at least need 51, I think, % loyalty to bump up the production level, so we need that. But then also, if we have higher than 50% loyalty, then most of the intel that he's currently getting on this area will go away. He probably can see a fair amount of what's going on here right now because of the 60% loyalty. Once we get it over 50% on our end, then that should eliminate a lot of his intel gathering just by having the loyalty stuff there. Yeah, that's my cavalry guy. One thing I do, which you may want to do as far as just kind of a player tip circumstance here, is if you have a ship that you want to get this replacement ship upgraded as soon as they unlock, then separate them out from the fleet, put them on green, like I did here. Whereas these guys don't need it because they're all full up. But the reason I do this is that when it unlocks, then it automatically goes into rebuilding these fully out. And so sometimes you can forget to do that if you don't see it unlock. This way it ensures you don't lose a turn of otherwise ships that could be sailing on the seas. So I always do this even when they're locked. I just pull them out, put them on green. That way when they unlock, then it goes automatically into the upgrade phase. Alright, we got a river ship that came up here down in Cairo. So we're pulling him out just to kind of create a little bit of a buffer here along the river area. I really need one more set of 2 ships, so I need 4. to make this really foolproof. The reason is if you have four ships in a river area, I think it stops. It's like a 90% chance that a land force can't cross or something like that. They can't be on green though. You need them at least on blue-orange to kick that off. But having 2, I think, is like a 50% obstruction. So it just makes it a little bit harder for him to get across to Cairo if he decides he wants to try and make a move on that early. Horses here. I took. The stars of heaven are looking kindly down. The stars of heaven are looking kindly down. I want him down there. The stars of heaven are looking kindly down on the grave of old John Brown. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Anything else I need to show you? Glory, glory, hallelujah. Nope, that's about everything. A couple of our ships came active here. I'm sending this one up to support our Hampton Roads blockade, and I'm sending this one all the way around to Philadelphia for replacement chit because it only has 1 of 2. That's coming out of Fort Pickens. Let's look at these events. Here's Carl Schultz. He's a cavalry commander. Arkansas seceded, and Tennessee seceded. Okay, and then putting a lot into my line infantry, 1 into elite. I like to just kind of slowly over time build up my elite. I didn't touch militia this turn, probably have to do that next turn. 1 in cavalry, and then a fair amount into artillery. Also, another distinction here, by the way, between the Confederacy and the Union. The Confederacy does not have field artillery. The Union does. So these heavies, as far as I can tell, these are the heavies that are either like your siege artillery or the ones that are in your forts. These, on the other hand, your field artillery, as opposed to your light, these are going to be your 10 and your 20 pounders. I think. I know it's your 20 pounders. It might also include your 10 pounders. And then your light is your 6 pounders. I don't know if that includes your 12, so your gold, your 12 pounders. But just know there's an extra column here for cavalry or for artillery that the Confederacy does not have to deal with. Personally, I like it because Confederacy, if you're trying to upgrade your 20 pounders, there's really no way to get around the heavy artillery upgrade. And so you end up upgrading fort artillery that you never wanted to upgrade in the first place. Okay, so this is still going on. This is going to increase this development area by 5 to take it from 20 to 25. That's why I did that. And let's see if there's other things going on. So he sold several hundred cotton bales to Great Britain, which I'm wondering if he did the embargo option. I don't know. Okay, transport ships, 1,100 supply, 2,700 points. He's got raiders in my shipping lane. We delivered 12 money. I've got a guy in there trying to track him down right now. Alright, let's turn over to Josh and see how things go.